my judgment just skyrockets when somebody is in a spiritual teaching role. So I'm in a yoga class and it's wonderful, many good, wonderfully nice things happening in the class. I don't want to miss the class, but it's so volatile for me, it's so hard for me to bring it up in any way. So if you have any ideas about that.
Thank you. So do you practice yoga?
Yes.
So it's called practice?
Yeah.
So this is your practice?
Right.
This is your opportunity to practice ahimsa, because that's what it's about. It's about being in a place and space, an environment where we're challenged because we're around violence, and we want to convey nonviolence in the world. And so we put ourselves in situations to do this. You've put yourself in a situation to be a practicing yogi. This is your practice. Because it's not about them, it's about you. Sorry. Welcome. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so how do you accept that, so she struggles with accepting that people are consuming animals because of course this is incredible violence against animals, but we wouldn't accept sexism, we wouldn't accept racism, we wouldn't accept these things. So what makes you think you're accepting, it's not about accepting it. We have to speak for the animals. We have to speak the truth. That's what I'm saying. But there comes a point at which you have to understand that we also live in this world and we have relationships with people. And the bottom line, as an activist, is the question I ask myself when I'm talking to people about these issues is, do I want to be right or do I want to be effective? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And so there is absolutely a way to talk. I only do talk about the animals. I do only talk about the animals. When people say, why are you vegan? There's nothing for the animals. And they go, oh, really? And then you have this great conversation. So we have to do that. So it's not about condoning it, but it's also understanding that there's some art to communication, and there's some art to at least being someone who's attractive, that someone's literally attracted to talk to, versus repelled by. And if they don't think we're safe people to come to talk about these things with, they're not going to do it. So that doesn't mean you're accepting it and condoning it. It just means that we understand that there's a lot going on. So I get it. Speak for the animals. Don't stop at all, ever. But just because you're not angry all the time doesn't mean you don't care. And I think a lot of activists think if we're not angry all the time, then we're not speaking for the animals. And we put so much pressure on ourselves because we think if we're not at that moment constantly being the one who's hitting that nail as the hammer, then we're not speaking for the animals. There's a way to do it so that we're still speaking for the animals, but not being angry.
This is your last question.
This is my last question.
Many times a week, on my walk, I walk by a vehicle parked in a driveway, and it has a bumper sticker on it that uses the PETA initials very offensively.
Oh, yeah.
And as I walk by it, I can just feel myself being so affected by it. And a couple of times I've seen the owner of the vehicle out in front of his house, and I have to say, I think, what would Colleen do? Or what would Colleen say about this? Because I listened to your podcast, and I refrain from doing anything until I'm really I feel like I'm giving my power away every time I walk by, and I feel like to have a conversation, there's a potential I could give my power away if I'm not really grounded.
Yeah, thanks. Have you thought about keying the car? What? Oh. That's gonna go out as a meme. It's like an audio meme. Have you thought about keying the car? Have you thought about keying the car? So have you listened to the podcast, my podcast episode, How to Talk to a Hunter, or anyone else with whom you disagree? I didn't think so. Because you would know what I would do. And, okay. You bless them. And it's the hardest thing to do, but you hold them in your heart as compassionate people, and you hope for them all the compassion in the world, and all the kindness in the world, and all the good in the world. And that's what you do for them, and you bless them. Thank you. Don't make me pack up those books I have on those tables. I do not want to carry those books back. I'm leaving at 3 o'clock to go to the airport, so please come over to the table, get rid of those books for me. Christmas is coming. Winter is coming. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.